Hey everyone, how are you? I wanted to give a quick overview of this interesting full stack application that we built here over at Adjective, just to manage our pipeline and not be dependent on any of the Web 2.0 legacy kind of CRM pipeline platforms. And I also at the same time can address some of the statements and perspectives around quote unquote vibe coding or AI assisted development. I think a lot of that gets conflated, and it's like a heavily nuanced ecosystem. And also, I think there's a lot of commentary out there from people that don't build software or aren't using these tools to generate capabilities. So it makes it all very complicated, right? We're a society where it's so easy to have an opinion without having experience or expertise, and that opinion kind of travels, and it's high risk, right? If a lot of people depend on the validity of that opinion. And I'm not saying for things that are subjective. I'm saying for things that are just can you generate a file that connects with another file to create an application? I mean, it objectively does that really well. So I'm gonna address those two things. But first, I'm gonna kind of go through how we're currently, building this thing and what we did to make it. So first off, let me just grab a quick little strategy file I produced here. It's just like a mock event of us. And the reason I manually scrolled and copied that is because I didn't want to include the stuff down here. So I got that copied. I'll show you the code base really quick. So this isn't some lovable or, base 44 developed application where it's kind of on a platform. You don't know how it works. You have to really struggle and fight for it to do the things you want it to do. I have complete control of the code base. I own the front end, back end, the data. All the data in it is mine. I have access to the Postgres instance. I created a really cool large language model integration and agent and multiple agents with a sequence for an architect agent, an opportunity strategist agent, and a trail tracker agent. I am deeply involved in full stack development that's AI native. I think our community, we hear so many people with these opinions and they just haven't touched the code. They haven't architected these things. They haven't worked with model context protocol. They haven't optimized tooling for agents to solve problems continuously. And so I wanted to address some of those concerns here. This is the equivalent of a full stack application that anyone would buy, right? And I always build my applications to SOC 2 plus HIPAA compliance standards. Just it's a great foundation to have. And I could have went deeper and had not gone with a back end as a service and went with Golang or something. But literally this application from ideation to realizing, oh my goodness, I need a CRM that we own, to generating these 5 core context augmented generation artifacts, which I'll talk about in another video, which are the files that essentially keep your project on the rails, to actually building the kind of initial scaffolding was probably 5 hours altogether. And then I've upgraded and updated little things here and there, and I'm making little tweaks as I go. And as you can see, it's right now just being ran locally. It's connected with certain cloud services, but I went super quick on this. I think it's a model that I've used for other projects. It's a model that others can use. You maintain complete control of all the things. A lot of communities kind of gaslight AI co-development with you don't own the data or it's rotting on some platform. None of that's true when you kind of approach it this way. And it's been really cool. It's been really exciting. So here's my little CRM tool. And another great thing about AI is you can completely style it the way you want. This looks absolutely ridiculous. I intentionally was I want to make it the frontier, old school westward expansion. How can I make it so it looks it's an interface that reminds you of wagons and having to kind of have little settlements here and there and stuff. So it was really bizarre, and I'm kind of a weirdo anyway, so it was perfect. But you start off by launching a campaign. I kind of wanted to keep it simple, but I wanted it extensible so we could maybe do a little bit some more sophisticated things, at least on the data side of kind of our pipelines and what we're building. And these are all fake, pipeline stuff. So you're not going to get any cool details or intel here. So for the first step is like launch a new campaign, establish a new base, define parameters of the new operation, which is cool. And so you could either upload files, PDF, doc, XTX, or Markdown, or you could just paste the text. That's what I'm doing. I just copy this from ChatGPT. So I'm going to generate a strategy. You can get an update from our architect agent, strategically positioned to secure energy contracts in Savannah by leveraging local relationships and aligning with Southern Company initiatives. 10 past tending. Cool. It's Operation Energy Conquest. Let's make this an 80K deal. Start date, definitely not 2024. Let's do 2026, January 5th. End date, let's do 26 March 2nd. So we established a base. So as you see, created the new card, pulled us into this like really cool stylized, wacky frontier looking interface. And the breakdown here was very intentional. And so AI generated this perfectly, and I also kind of worked with it to adapt some things. I will say AI struggles with SVGs and things like Gantt charts. So this was a project. I'd say let's say this took 5 or 6 hours. A good 2 hours or a good hour and a half was focused on getting the Gantt chart right. But it's such a critical component of this user experience and workflow that I really wanted to make sure it was working properly. So just starting at the top, you have your revenue targets, the campaign's active. We have our timeline for the mission. You can edit all of this if you want. Typical create, read, update, and delete workflows that we're used to for full stack applications. You could delete the campaign. No, I don't want to delete it. And all this CSS, this like style guide is very intentional too. Like this used to take very, very long hours to think of. And let me stop for a second. So like one of the reasons why I think I've been able to build complex applications that are high value and look quality and are interesting and are unique is because I have a background in 3 different categories and I do all of them decently well. I was a growth executive, so I understand business outcomes and kind of specifically for like industrial or B2B, B2G communities, business to government. I kind of know what the goals of some of these applications are and I know how teams operate at the enterprise kind of like growth/RevOps level. I also started my whole career as like a product designer and UX engineer after the military. And so I can empathize with, what does it mean to do good design? What does it mean to operate on a team and de-risk features and kind of create workflows that are frictionless, that like users will continue to use and not abandon? And then I used to be a full stack developer with an emphasis on front end engineering. So I kind of have like the 3 perspectives you need to build like in a silo, right? With very little oversight and do a lot of people's jobs in one big bundle. So when I'm kind of generating things that cross-cut between business, design, and engineering. And I think that's a way we need to start training knowledge workers, perhaps. There's different kind of triple perspective archetypes that can do end-to-end tasks that require their knowledge of a couple of different things. And depending on the knowledge work, some stuff's more consequential or higher risk and than others, right? So you have to be careful. You can't just like have, a random person doing medical, supporting medical initiatives and just YOLOing like operations and stuff. But there's a cool way we can carefully do this and build spectacular, high value, high output, new ways of working. And so I want to talk about this new way of working. So for this, I've architected this kind of like pipeline development CRM experience around what I call GenOps or Generative Ops, where you're kind of prompting things and then editing and QAing them and moving them and updating them. And I think there's features in here I don't have yet where it's like you have all of these things built out and you're able to track your work. Now, how do you generate outputs based on like all of this evidence you put together and like building out these CRM packs via these campaigns? So GenOps, I think, is the future. And I'll show you kind of what GenOps is and then kind of how it compares to legacy processes. So just coming down here, like we mentioned, here's a Gantt chart. It's really cool. You can, just zoom out week, 2 weeks, month. see. So we have like some of our stuff plotted. All of that was just plotted by AI based on the dates. I mean, AI generated the dates based on kind of our plan. It inferred some of them. Any of these like triangle ones it thought was like a strategic milestone, so it marked it as that. You can like uncheck that, save it, and it just becomes normal. Coming down here are the tasks. You can edit them like anything else, take notes. You could turn them into a strategic milestone. These are the same things, but in the Gantt view. These you can move like Trello and just move around. So once they turn into started, see how it turned blue? Like the column, we'll watch it turn into review. It turns yellow. You finally complete the task, build strategic relationships with key city and company leaders. You start to chip away at whatever percentage of tasks you have left for this campaign. And it just automates a lot fast. Like you don't have to spend all your time in the CRM, creating cards and updating the cards. And, you at least get to fill the gaps in between those things just so it's like a more kind of playful and an enjoyable experience. So let me show you like, hey, like we found out, we just had a Zoom call or whatever, and we found out we need to talk to four city officials or whatever. And it's like, we need to connect with 4 key leaders in order to get access to energy contracts in the city. And you can copy and paste in here as well. This is the GenOps experience I'm describing. So let's just do we need to talk to Carla Blue, Kevin Green, Bill Orange, and Sarah Purple. And so just put, whether you dump notes in there, specific items, just dropping things in the field journal allows you to create multiple tasks, right? Connect with Carla Blue, connect with Kevin Green, connect with Bill Orange, connect with Sarah Purple. You can see this extended 1 out of 14. The percentage went down because there's more tasks to accomplish. So as you can see, there's just like a really cool vibe where instead of doing manual tasks, you're getting quick wins here and there and just generating different cards that have canonical formats that the system knows about, and agents are handling and dealing with a lot of these things. There's some really cool hooks in here to be able to create like reports on this work. Because of the brand, we call them dossiers. Like it's supposed to be super old school, which is really fun. There's just so much upside to building your own experience and owning your own data, and now it's like extremely affordable. It's extremely inexpensive. This cost me, very little money to build, and it's going to cost me very little money to maintain, especially with the way I architected the agents and the GPT interactions, where certain tasks use 3.5, which is GPT 3.5, which is a lot less expensive. Other more sophisticated tasks are going to use 4.0, but there's just so much capacity to multiply here. There's so much to extend now that we have this option. And I think GenOps is going to be a thing that we need to train for, and something that kind of spreads across every team, right? I think we haven't really labeled it yet, but that's really what it is. But like it needs to be this like cultural imperative. And I think one of the only ways we get there is if leaders kind of create expectations that encourage more GenOps type functions, right? More GenOps type capabilities. And you could look at a task or a sequence or a responsibility and say, that's a little too risky to use AI right now. And you could substantiate it with data, and the manager can say, you're right, like do that manually. I want you to have complete control from step 0 to 10. But for other things, like a bunch of busy work, like you should be using a custom tool that you protect our data with, and you also move a lot faster so you can do more, so that you can get access to more opportunities. There's endless problems to solve in this world, and I think GenOps and generative AI are going to help us solve them incredibly fast. I think it's the future of knowledge work. I'm excited to hear what you think. Reach out to me if you have any questions or you want to collaborate. Have a great day.